Mobile for entrepreneurs. And it's lucky that we're in the basement because that way none of the mobile signals can actually get through. So we won't bother with a lot of demonstration. My name is Bayard Saunders, and I've been here at Podcamp before at different times. In fact, how many people are returning visitors to Podcamp today? Yeah, and how many people here were here, say, in 2010? And earlier than that, by chance? So it's interesting because I like the evolution of the camp. Today is beautiful. We're in a hotel. The previous ones in bars. The first one, actually, the speakers were decided by standing up and throwing beer bottles at each other. So this is far more stable and a better environment, I think, for sharing. But the history is important because I think what you do with something really when you leave here is critical and important. And one of the things that I did after speaking here in 2010 is take a look at, in fact, in order to prepare for today, to talk about how small business and personal brands can really use mobile and should be using them. I went back to take a look at the things that we had suggested before and talked about for brands and for personal people to do. The fact that there were so many, I'm going to breeze through this really quickly, so follow the gestalt. There were lots of mobile marketing things, so many different potential opportunities and for ways of using mobile. And in fact, there still are. All of these things still exist in a variety of formats. Auto text reply, where you send a keyword back. Texting to Haiti, this is what got people very excited in nonprofits, suddenly a whole new generation of philanthropists. Text ads, very common in other countries, suddenly coming into their own in the United States. The advent of Twitter, mobile web banner ads, which had been, we'll talk about their success in a minute. The SharePoint server pieces, multimedia ads, mobile in-game advertising, couponing, which is, by the way, has 4 times the return of email coupons. We'll talk about that in a minute too. Location-based ads for activation when somebody gets near someplace. Ad networks on GPS systems. Check-in contests on Foursquare and Gowalla, well, they're not there anymore. Brightkite, GetBlue. The opportunities for engagement have been demonstrated over and over again, especially in Twitter. Some companies effectively using augmented reality, where something is changing. QR codes. I'm going to talk a little bit about why that has had mixed results over the years. What digital watermarks, visual search. How many people have ever used Google Goggles? You know what that is? Yeah, so a visual search engine. It matches pictures to pictures. In this case, an advertiser uses this, so instead of having to put a QR code, you just took a picture of this and texted it, so it worked it on small phones as well. Instead of QR codes, destroying your beautiful, creative, uncluttered look with visual search. And this has taken off, and certainly in people, if you're shopping for wine, if you're shopping for books, I highly recommend you use Google Goggles. When you go in and search on the labels, you get returned information about where to buy it cheaper. Text groups have been started now, so this is common in restaurants, and we'll talk about how that has been using. Lots of different development has shown both mobile web and mobile apps, and both are certainly valid. This doesn't exist anymore. Voice recognition has been going on. The start of the Mobile Marketing Association. There were a lot of things that have happened over the course of 3 years. So we've been able to test and come to some realization about which of these things work best, which of them are cheapest, which can be afforded by nonprofits, by personal brands, by small businesses, home offices, that sort of thing. So today we're going to look and see what it takes to think creatively, strategically, sort of inside of this box, because really that's it. Limitations in resources, limitations in how consumers are using the technology. It really should be driving how we are doing responsive design and who's doing it. So we're going to talk about that, and then we're going to talk about some simple, free ways to build Earlier today there was Jordan Giles who did a presentation on making your own mobile websites in 30 seconds or less or something. And somebody saw that? Did you see that? Anybody go to that one at all? No. At any rate, we'll talk a little bit about how to do that and making websites. I'm sure that will be available, as will all of these sessions today, so if you're interested in that. Bottom line is what we've learned about consumer behavior is that consumers do like it. They like this idea of showcasing, being able to go into stores and seeing things, like being able to compare things, like information just in time, which in fact the mobile delivers because it's an end device that we carry with us at all times. The types of information that people are seeming to request most or looking for. Online retail, lots of how many people have online retail sites? Anybody? Anybody working with Google Analytics on your sites? Okay. Those of you working with analytics, can you tell me roughly, if you remember, what the percentage of mobile browsers was last year and what the percentage of mobile browsers is now? Anybody? Drastic change, small change?
Yeah, I actually recently talked to someone who does have an online store. It went from 28% to 40%.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I would agree with that.
About that? Yeah, it's pretty astounding. So Americans, because of whatever, you look at how consumers' behavior occurs. So tablets, the PC industry is tanking because people are buying tablets. It's a much easier interface. Consumers like the easier interface. And so the mobile interface is becoming clearly much more than it has been in the past. Critical to online retailers. Newspapers are finding their reads are coming off of mobile now. Local restaurants, incredible success with mobile, not just apps, but really reaching the larger majority of users on feature phones via text and SMS messaging. Banks and financial services. Has anybody deposited a check on their bank by taking a picture yet? Yeah, very convenient. And there's more coming. The banks are really financial services was lagging behind. They're now desperately, they're catching up and moving ahead of healthcare. Technology, people want to find out about things, looking up things on mobile. Retail stores, people are now shopping with the mobiles in hand and looking specifically for deals, looking for comparison. The shopper has never been as better armed as they have been today, which changes the shopping experience. Airlines are finding the majority of their bookings, especially rebookings, coming on mobile, and then, of course, hotels finding lots of excitement with near-field communications, so people are driving by or they're checking into a town. Lots of hotels. And so consumers want this. They want it, and they said that receiving deals or promotions improves the opinion of the brand. Now, if you think about it, what happens in previous media? Well, how is a brand perceived that stuffs your mailbox full of flyers? Okay, so this is actually a boost by using this medium. And those who are early adopters will recognize the benefits of it. I wanted to give you some concrete examples as to who is doing it right in terms of dollars. So Ron's Auto Repair in Ames, Iowa, small business. He partners with Yodel. Yodel does a number of things. It optimizes on websites and listings, but also primarily really pushing mobile. And so Ron's used this unique tracking number so that he could actually count. A dollar goes into this system, it gets pushed through to these various ads and these businesses, and it comes out as an actual customer. And he tracks 3 to 28 new customers a month. Their average bill is $326, $9,000 in new sales per month, cost him approximately 50 cents to $2 for each one of those leads. So, success story for small business utilizing mobile. Pacha nightclubs is, well, it's not terribly small, but it is a smaller venue. 3 weeks after beginning, they started a little texting campaign 2 or 3 times a week. That 2,000 person list grew by word of mouth. It grew also by people pushing, and the great thing about text is, of course, people can retext, can resend that forward. So later that month, they send 3,500 messages out. They get 440 people who show up at the door. And in terms of dollar signs for them, I'm not sure what this discount was about, but the $10 drink tickets, they are getting $12,400. It cost them, probably about that same under $2 a lead to get those people in the first place. So in their first event, they made 3 times their money back. The question is, can small business use mobile? It's being proved over and over again. How many of you have subscribed to these text message things, by the way? And the reason I'm saying that this is exciting because of all the things that we're trying, apps, mobile websites, these are reached by 98% of the phones, right? Because even the feature phones, the smallest, with the least amount in it, they don't have apps, do have access to the text. The way it works is, one way or another, and Zanies did this by actually asking people to sign up on their loyalty card and one of the, in addition to their email address, now they ask for phone. And so sent this one-time thing. So if you don't reply to this, there's no spam involved, you don't have to, it doesn't come again. But it's a double opt-in. So you send the word comedy back or some keyword back, and then they send you a thing where you can go ahead and if you click on this, it takes you through a series of things where you can register by email. So if you are not, you don't have a text or a feature phone or a smartphone, there's alternative ways to feed into the system. Redbox. How many of you watch Redbox movies? There's a Redbox text system. About 6 times out of every, 1 out of every 6, they'll send a free one. And then the rest are, coupons and codes for getting discounts. Very effective. They're just beginning to test this program. I think it just started here and being effective. And they're finding that it's generating not only loyalty but interest. And then they can also segment by who's turning in just the freebies and those who are actually doing so they can actually segment their database according to who might be most likely to respond to future offers. The Sonics, same idea. They're offering basically coupons. They're trying to bring people in by doing campaigns and offers. Opry Mills uses something similar. Now it's a Simon Property Mall, but each one of their tenants is now participating. So Old Navy, Sun and Ski, and then events that the mall itself is producing. So they're driving traffic and they're driving interest. The Tilted Kilt is an interesting thing too, and what's becoming very much more popular now is some kind of contest. So this is revolving around an event. They're doing a contest. And of course they do the natural bringing things. But you can involve people in surveys. You can do bring people into loyalty programs. You can make offers and you can give away things. Those of you who aren't on Domino's, on occasion they have some really interesting ones. They must do A/B and multivariate testing by putting out these offers to see which telephone numbers respond, and then again they resegment those to those most likely to respond, those that are responding to certain types of offers, large family offers, or individuals. So it's in fact very simple to do this. It works. There are maybe 3, 4, 5 services I'm going to talk about, but you can do this tonight. It's very simple. The process is you pick a keyword. I would suggest it's something simple. If I were going to do my business card thing again, where you text your first name to a certain number, I would probably change my name to Joe, because it's a lot easier for people to type Joe with a finger. So pick a keyword and one that works for you. You then set up you take that short code, whatever it is, in your keyword, and then you can do this on social media. You can do it on in fact, lots of good responses on social media. Those that are being read by mobile. Again, really mobile is the key. Allows individuals then to respond, to opt in, and once they do, they are then in your database, and then you can begin segmenting them, and you segment them by sending out messages and evaluating the response. Plenty of analytics. This will feed in your Google Analytics if you're sending them to pages, or if in fact you can give them codes and track that at your cash register, you can do that. I want to talk about a couple of the quick services quickly. TextMarks is one of the older ones. This allows you to actually set up a system whereby you can text to individuals and have them reply to you. The best thing that shoppers have said so far, and those individuals have responded about being able to talk to retailers or talk to brands or talk to restaurants, is they get that interaction. They have an opportunity to respond, that there is some kind of I guess a complaint department, open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. TextMarks is a simple way to do that. It's got some very simple pricing plans, and each one of these is different the way they do it. So they count either the total number of messages, or they count the number of individuals you're sending to, and give you a certain amount of messages. Really, the plan depends upon how you think you would like to drive your text messaging service. So 19 a month gets you 30 messages per subscriber, up to 100 subscribers. And if you can add them for an extra quarter or add new groups, up to 30 messages per subscriber, for 1,000 subscribers, 18 different groups, so that it can get very large very quickly. Another service like that is MiiA. So again, sending messages, they have a bit more analytics in terms of the back end being able to tell you who signed up, who didn't. Their service is a little bit more expensive. Again, similar in their messages, right? Up to 10,000. Depends on, now, why would you need 10,000 messages? If you were representing yourself and you were a brand, or perhaps you were a musician and had 10,000 fans, pretty easy to get up to those numbers fairly quickly. But if you are a small company, a small brand, a personal brand, maybe you're a consultant, it doesn't take you, it won't send those number of messages. If you're working for a larger company, I would suggest Tango. They are the market leader at this point. They have the most comprehensive analytics, and they do really the broadcasting they talked about, so shooting out messages to as many people as possible, just letting them know about things, running SMN contests, so you have interaction and engagement, polls, you have surveys, and then autoresponders, so you set up so people who need to have some information immediately, you don't have to have an operator standing by. Tango, obviously, a little bit more expensive, and they have a higher entry point. I've talked a lot about text messaging because it's the thing that's working the most. We're getting the most responses, we're getting the most people replying for coupons, getting the most people turning those in. Home Depot loyalty programs, similar response has been tremendous at point of sale. But I also want to mention that there are some people who are having some success by putting out their own personal app. Very easy to do. Earlier today, if you didn't see that presentation, you can look it up online and see how it is to build yours. If you're going to go ahead and do that, understand there's similarities. And so right now, people are testing whether or not there's a just app or just the site, a combination of both. Right now, it's looking like the combination wins, but they both have similar things in terms of what consumers want from them and what they want to download. So a good app is free to download, it's quick, it doesn't crash, it works for all software, and it clearly explains updates, which is a big problem. A lot of apps don't explain their updates, they don't even mention that they're supposed to be updated. And for right now, it's an interesting problem with apps. I think it might go away. But a good mobile website, look, there's similarities, right? Everybody wants, as a time element, download quickly, quickly download. Clarity on your device, sure. Easy to find via mobile search, easier to use than desktop, so it's a comparable or better experience, and then has features different to the regular website. So show mobile users, if you can, something different to either provide them additional information through that, or the most important thing I think about mobile, which has really been lost in a lot of the internet, and this used to be a talking point years ago when people were first trying to understand what this monster was. But think of the tin can and the strings. So the internet being nothing but tin cans and a bunch of strings all connected together, really. Mobile facilitates that communication directly. So ultimately, the first web designers, the big problem was, well, how do you get people off their computers? How do you get them to begin talking to the brands? How do you activate them to pick up that telephone? They're looking at it on the telephone. You have to put links. You have to be able to put, let people have immediate access to you. It's really a retailer's boom. We've been hoping for this for a very long time. If you're on your own and you don't want to go on your own, and you don't want to bother looking at the earlier thing about how to do it, I'd recommend take a stab at Conduit. Give it a shot. See what kind of brand you might create. This is a small, simple CMS. You can create your own application and run it for free. If you like what's happening and you get more than 50 mobile visits a month, and you think that it might be good for your business, then they have larger choices in pricing. But if you're going to go to mobile apps, definitely shop around, because it's very simple to do. Anybody on Code Academy, by the way? .com? Anybody coders or anything? So lots of new mobile stuff on the Code Academy. I would highly recommend going to check it out, because eventually, look, word processing was a thing that was done by somebody else, and then secretaries and individuals started doing it. Desktop publishing, done by departments, then individuals, secretaries started to do it. Right? PowerPoint presentations done by giant departments before then individuals, secretaries. Right? So why would it not be true that then mobile texting and that sort of thing will be done by? And I'm going to last speak about mobile ads because it is a valid methodology and channel. Is it working? We're having very little response from, in terms of mobile ads. They are very similar to display advertising numbers. So the same numbers you would expect for display ad responses, similar kinds of responses on mobile. If it's targeted right, we're getting a little better, and the mobile apps that are those people who can click through and who can engage through, it is a better response. Better than display ads on the internet, but it is following that same pattern of decreasing relevance. So mobile consumers do not respond to the mobile ad because it is not part of a consumer's active experience or behavior with the mobile technology. But if you decide to do them, it's very simple. Now there's places online where you can go in, just like Google AdWords, keywords you can buy your things, don't have to involve human beings, you can experiment. And then critical to any response to any kind of advertising is the follow-up, more so on mobile than there is on when somebody clicks through to a banner ad, you're going to a website, you're hoping about the conversion. When somebody clicks through on a mobile, you're getting a lot of information, you can follow up with them, you're moving them into a permission-based thing. A couple of years ago, I ran out of business cards. So I tried this service. It's called Context, CONTXTS.com, Context. It allows you to have this free mobile business card, text business card, and so you can choose a keyword, text my first name to 50500. This still works, by the way. So you would get a text back that would say this information, and then I would get a text saying somebody has just requested. It would give me your telephone number. If your name was associated, it would give me that too. The reasons that I liked this was because kill less trees, and two, it's unique. Something different, people, and it was a way for me to test early whether somebody would be a good client for me, because I would say to them, you can text my first name to 50500. About 20% of the people would immediately reach in their phones and start trying it. I gotta see that, I've never seen that before. Good client, very open to me. About the other 70% or so, didn't take it out, didn't do it, never did it. So I found as an effective business card tool, it's really terrible. It's terrible because consumers don't behave that way. Consumers are used to having a card handed to them. They like the physical property. They know what to do with it. They take it home. They got a machine that puts it in their computer. Right? We have ways of dealing. And there's cultural issues too. So I do some work overseas, and so unless you can really feel the card, paper, and appreciate it, it's not a business card experience. So they have to. There's more detriment to this than there has been positives. However, when it activates, when I get these telephone numbers and people are willing to exchange text information and become part of that, like the text marks system, then it's an ongoing dialogue with these people. I can move them in other places. I've recently been looking at what would be the best responsive design in terms of an individual thing. So my point being that if I tell somebody in a text my card, what if they have a smartphone already? What if they can just put a URL in, and what would be the best version of that? So there's a new service called DooidMe, D-O-O-I-D-Me. And if you go there, you get to set this up for free. It shows both a, let's see if I put this correctly. This is the laptop version, and this is what it looks like on mobile. Very effective in terms of the responsive design, because it looks great on tablets, it looks good on laptops, it looks really good on mobile devices of a variety of sorts. And provides, I think, the most comprehensive contact. So individuals who might want to hire me, or individuals who want to talk with me right now, or individuals who are interested in where I've been, or want to read the blog, or there's connections here for a slideshow you'll be able to find this presentation on. So I think it's a very effective tool, and highly recommend it for, and again, individual personal brands, because what do we want the mobile thing to do? We want people to use that device to get in touch with us. And ultimately, that's the key and the goal to personal branding, to use a small business effectively in mobile, and again, hopefully the encouragement and the use of mobile as we sort of waddle into it as we discover consumers behave different ways. And these are the lessons that we've been learning for the last 3 years, and we share with you today. Any questions?
Do you prefer responsive design to a mobile app?
Well, interesting question. Prefer responsive design to a mobile app. I think when there's the question of mobile app versus a site, right, that the site, it's a matter of functionality. So what do you want the consumer to do? Is it you need the consumer to engage with your content? If it can be done offline, maybe it is best done as an app because it's all downloaded already and they don't have that potential for not having connectivity. If it is not that, and it's something more immediate, maybe running specials, then I think if the app has that alert function, that's better than the responsive design because you want to be able to be proactively contacting those individuals and utilizing the technology. Yep.
QR codes. I see you got one up there. Have you found any resistance to the fact that a lot of phones don't have QR code readers built into them, and so you're asking the customer to do one more step in order to be able to read the QR code?
I wouldn't use a QR code anymore if it were me.
Okay.
Okay. So the only reason I use them here is because I know this is a very bubble. You guys are in a bubble, and some of you would even use the QR code. So, but I wouldn't use it in business anymore unless I were a retailer, had a physical plant. I might use it for. It would depend upon the audience. It would have to be a younger audience. It would have to be somebody who would either be tuned in, or it would have to be an audience from Japan. Because for Japan, it's been used for 10 years, and you can't walk down the street without seeing everything tagged with QR codes. Yeah.
I came here because I saw the QR code, and I have been thinking about this. I work for a nonprofit, marketing for a nonprofit, and they insist on having brochures, continuing with brochures. And I wanted to put a QR code on the back of the brochure that led to our website that we're still developing on. Is there a way that a QR code would ever play a video, or is it only for the website?
No, so a QR code can lead you to a video, launch a video player, launch a YouTube, launch any kind of URL. QR code could supply a telephone number. QR code could create a text message on their phone for them to send to you, saying, I would like more information.
I've seen them go directly to websites, but I have never seen one that offered a video. So that's why I wondered if it was possible.
Yes, that's correct. If a link to a video, a link to a YouTube, or a link, so if you had YouTube on your phone.
Yes. On the question of apps versus a mobile-ready site,
Yep.
not all phones take apps.
That's correct.
So most phones are connected to the web. In other words, when you're talking app, aren't you talking a Droid versus an iPhone?
A program that needs to be downloaded onto
Right.
their phones.
And it really, I mean, there's millions of people that are still using BlackBerries,
Yes.
and
that's
they
correct.
don't accept
in
that.
fact, so this is a very good point. So if you're worried about how many people you're talking to, 98% or 99 to 100% of the phones, 99% of the phones today, because there's a small percentage that are just emergency phones. 99% have text messaging capabilities. Okay. Probably 60% or less are in the smartphone category. Of that, and 40% are probably real smartphones as we know them, the Android, iPhone. And I'm slicing this thing down. Now, those people who have those, think about the people you know who have smartphones. How much of them do they use? How many are really technical users? How many really have bother downloading the apps? I mean, how many people have you talked to who have said, oh, I only use it to make phone calls? So, I'm slicing that number even smaller, right? You see what, and so if you're really trying to reach the majority of the population, when you start talking about smartphone apps, using just by being able to download. And there are feature phones that can go to the web, and they could see a mobile website, but they couldn't download an app. If that gives you a sort of a pedagogy. Yes?
I work for a company that has a mobile app, and we've experimented with QR codes before. Mainly, they're useful to track the source of where people are discovering.
Source, yes.
But we're finding that not many people use it. So I was wondering if you had any ideas of other ways to track the source of the mobile.
Yes, they do. It's called vanity URLs or individual URLs, PURLs, personal URLs. So it's a URL that's specifically designed for that campaign. And you use like a bit.ly or a short code, bit.ly / whatever your short code is, to get people to go there. And for us mobile, we want to make it as short as possible. Like the smallest number of things you want to type in. Those are really good. The other thing you could do is you could, and it would probably, you'd probably have the same problem. You'd have a small number of response. But Google Goggles, if you tell people to search for you using Google Goggles, you could have them take a picture of your logo, it would respond to, or even a book or a pamphlet, and it should search a visual database, bring up your website for them that way. So that's an alternative as well. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I work for a mobile app development company out of Indianapolis, and so I'm really excited to see everybody in this room because this is something that, I mean, this is how people engage with content. It's just been shown that the majority of consumers out there, just people in general, are just constantly checking their phones, constantly going to their phones for information, right? We all know this. The reason I'm not a huge fan of the QR codes is just because where we are right now, someone mentioned the technology, it's just not very fast, right? So either I have to download the reader, or I have to pull up the reader, maybe it won't scan it right the first time, I can just type in MiiA.com and I'm there, right? So it's a lot quicker. I think definitely keep your eye open for as that technology advances, because one thing I do is I just take pictures of everything and then, you know, I can look it up later, and scanning things I think is going to be something of the future, but we're not there quite yet. So I'm very interested in knowing where mobile's going to be in a few years. So right now, yeah, people are, it's kind of new, right? So people are using a lot of different marketing techniques, using a lot of different text message services, push notifications, things of that nature. I don't think right now for our personal use, mobile apps are where they need to be for us to share information personally. Right now, social media is probably the best tool for that. But as far as your business goes, I really feel like if we look ahead, we're going to see a very similar path to how every other marketing effort has gone. So if you think about when you check your mail, I mean, who throws away junk mail every day, right? I mean, that used to be really cool. We send out mailers, right? Well, now we just chunk that stuff. And your email, I mean, how many of us are deleting junk mail all the time? But maybe we subscribe to it at one point and we're just too lazy to scroll to the bottom and figure out how to unsubscribe. So we just, we tell our email to block it, or we have to delete it ourselves, right? And so I think eventually we're going to find a place where our phones, because everybody knows now that they can reach us on our phone, we're just going to be interrupted constantly with information. And there are ways to set up to block that, but there are also ways to unsubscribe to mailers and unsubscribe to emails, and we just don't always take the time to do that. So what I like about mobile apps looking into the future is that's a place where I can intentionally pull up everything I need to know about a company and look at it in one place. And if I want to subscribe to push notifications about events, or information about sales, I can do that. And again, if you do that, you have to be very respectful of your consumer and get their permission to send them stuff, and don't spam them. But I just feel like mobile apps are definitely the future as far as how people are going to continue to engage with content.
Excellent. And what's your company name?
Yeah, it's called Bluebridge Digital, and we also run Visit apps, and we also run Go College apps.
Excellent. See, wonderful. Glad to hear this. So this is the excellent part of Podcamp, by the way, or any camp, so you get to get as much information from as many different sources as possible. For nonprofits and those who are actually doing, trying to generate a new generation of philanthropists, Really exciting now is PayPal's announcement last week that they're doing a special thing for nonprofits so that you can, if you get your mobile app together and want to take contributions on it, PayPal will facilitate that for you. And there's probably a couple of others doing that now. I know Citi is experimenting with direct payments, and so is Bank of America, so that I can text not only to pay my bill at a restaurant, but I can text to pay you if I owe you $5 or it's an individual to person to person.
The only thing that I would want to add, and one thing that everyone should take away from this, is that if you're asking yourself, should my site be responsive? Yes, it should be. That's not even a question you should ask. And you should definitely go out. You should talk to a lot of different designers. You should price check, because right now it's a big thing right now to have a responsive site like that. Sounds really sexy. It's super easy to do. Find somebody that's going to give you a fair price. Definitely do some comparisons, because there are people who are going to raise the price on that.
You bring up a good point about that. I do some of that myself. Responsive is the way to go.
Yes.
I think personally that it's actually more in tune for people that are on tablets and things like that. From a mobile perspective, I'm still not interested in going through a full site. Most people, when they're trying to look up your business, they're looking for directions,
Sure.
call, that kind of thing.
Right.
And it is much more important to have a very specific page that condenses all that information and provides people with those particular items. I'm in the car, where do I have to go? I want to call that place that I'm going to, what are the directions? Very, very succinct. As opposed to responsive, which is big, beautiful website, nice pictures and things like that. Yeah, it does condense, and then it's all, and it depends on how it's done, but
Right.
it's always good to have a specialty page for mobile in order for us to, for most people like myself, to say, I just want to call this place, or I just want to get the directions. I don't want to read about me.
How many use WordPress as a basis
Yeah.
for your, so you can go out, WordPress automatically does that responsive breakdown. And so many people have found that to be very effective, except designers sometimes find that frustrating because it does require thinking through specifically what's the most important things and how can we create it. If you really design with responsive in mind, right? So to some sites are designed and then responsive is sort of the afterthought. Gee, I hope it will squish everything down. In reality, if you design with that strategy in mind, and you know that this is a mobile or is a device or a channel that you're going to reach your priority customers on, absolutely, you want to talk to them that way. And if you find the majority of your customers are, watch those analytics, coming on via mobile, then past time to get the mobile done, that's clearly, and that's I can't say that often enough, because there has been a lot of testing, a lot of experiment in mobile, but I think it has been the poor stepchild running behind social media in terms of investments and what I'm seeing in budgets. That's slowly changing now as the CMO and the CIO become closer together. So as those people who are doing marketing are changing from more creative bent to more analytic. In fact, Gozen, who's the CEO of Nissan, said that marketing is going to the geeks. He's proving it because he's only hiring business analysts who have math backgrounds now. And that's who's staffing the marketing department. So this is going to happen for mobile too. Our analytics are not as good as they can be yet. Carriers are just beginning to get involved. The ones that are really exciting, I think, are the ones who are beginning to participate in the payment schemes, and so they'll be the ones who will facilitate the payment when you go to a store. When the carriers get involved in that, then they become like American Express, and so it's a whole different ballgame for carriers in the future.
Just one fact I just heard today prior to coming here. There are more people that own mobile phones than own a toothbrush.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Or
By
have
a lot.
access to
It's like by billions.
toilet facilities in the world. Yes, I've read that. It is true. And a frightening, horrible concept, but what a great opportunity for an little
Toothpaste.
disposable toothbrush fits right in the earplug holder. And something like that. So, any other questions? No, listen, thank you very much. You've been a great audience today, and I hope you have a great March.